Joining me to chat about this is Liberal MP Keith Wolahan. Hi there, Keith. Happy Friday. No doubt you've been following what's already been said in relation to the High Court ruling. Your thoughts?
Thank you for having me. We always had concerns on two aspects for this decision. One was the stated urgency of it, and secondly was the scope of the powers for the draft bill that's being put forward. That's why it passed through the House so that we could interrogate urgency in the Senate. And our assessment was that the prospects of success weren't what the government were stating, and that was shown in the result here. So the case for urgency has fallen apart. The other concern we have is on scope. This draft bill currently gives enormous, we would say excessive powers to the minister. And so there is work to be done in making sure that the proposal in response is fit for purpose. And we should now look at that in a different light given the ruling today.
And there's been a lot of emphasis by Dan Tehan about, these hardened criminals that have been released into the community and, whether they all need, ankle monitoring and so on. Do you think we really need this sort of discussion right now, or is that more political?
I think the key concern right now isn't the regime that's open to the minister. It's about whether the minister is actually using the regime available. We don't have confidence that the minister is across his brief and that he is getting daily updates and actually interrogating whether Australians are being kept safe. And we've seen that again and again when a particular decision and the minister says, oh my, I didn't expect that, or we didn't think that this was going to happen. We have seen again and again from this government a government that hasn't transitioned properly from opposition. And it was interesting to see the minister have a press conference today, and that's what he resorted to saying, what about is in? Well, Peter Dutton, when he was minister, did or didn't do this. They're in government now and they have been for 2 years, but I don't think they have accepted that yet.
But, with these amendments that with these proposals that the coalition has put up, there will still be, maybe cases where detainees are unfairly treated, and then other people will be up in arms. What's the state of perfection?
And no one pretends that this is easy. It's a very difficult area of law, and the High Court got involved for that reason. We have separation of powers between the executive and the judiciary in particular. And the judiciary has said that, punishment is our domain and it can only be the domain of the executive in certain circumstances. And the case today sought to expand the NZYQ circumstances, and the High Court said, no, not so fast. We won't expand it that far. So today didn't present more problems. It said to the minister, this is the same situation that you had months ago and at the end of last year. So we're just asking for the minister to do your job with the tools that you have available. And we don't have confidence that the minister is up to it.
Why do you think the cases of these detainees has become so controversial in the Australian community?
I think it's controversial because the first duty of government is to keep people safe. And these aren't abstract numbers. There are real victims involved here. And we saw that in the bloodied, bruised picture of an elderly Australian who had been beaten up. So Australians are worried. And we know from the criminal justice system, people who have been violent in the past are much more likely to be violent again. They have a propensity to be violent. So that's the category of people that we're dealing with here. And the primary consideration has to be keeping Australians safe. And again, that requires the minister to be on top of his brief every day.
You don't think that it's become over-politicised, especially leading up to the election?
But I don't know what that means. I think Australians are capable of having a reasonable, frank discussion on an issue that's of importance to them. Of course, it's difficult, but it matters. And if we can have civil discussions, and we're having it in a civil way, well, then I think we're in the wrong business. I think the minister, when he says this is becoming overly politicised, what he's really saying is stop criticising me. I've had enough. Well, if the minister feels that way, well, then he should step aside and let someone else do it.
And what do you think of David Shoebridge, the Greens immigration spokesperson's comments that these, the amendments put forward by Labor are cruel and they've been likened to, Trump policies?
Look, I know David Shoebridge. I've been on committees and committees with David. That's the sort of language that he would use. Our concerns are on scope. But I don't think using that sort of rhetoric helps. We will be civil, and we will also be mature in how we will approach that. Of course, there has to be a mechanism that doesn't just let someone frustrate the process that we have by not cooperating, and the High Court said as much today. So we will look at the proposal in light of the decision that is being made today, and we'll carefully scrutinise the reasons. A lot of these reasons take a while to digest, and we will seek legal advice on those as well.
Thanks so much, Keith, and enjoy your weekend. And that's Liberal MP Keith Wolahan speaking to us from Melbourne.